Flaunting his wealth, royal tantrums, King Charles took the throne and then the spotlight.
There's no doubt that the new monarchs of the United Kingdom are in their twilight years.
What did Prince William make explicitly clear about his children's relationship to their step-grandmother? And what popular game does she play with her other grandchildren?
Ever wondered what secrets could turn a quiet royal night into a storm? Just hours ago, a shocking discovery inside Camilla's car sent shockwaves through Clarence House. King Charles found himself in an unimaginable position, forced to call security, all because Prince William stumbled upon something he never expected in the glove box. But what could be hidden there, tucked away under layers of secrecy that could ignite tension at the very heart of the monarchy? The events didn't unfold in a straight line. One moment, Clarence House was calm. The next,
come out of a briefing in the last couple of minutes, and what Clarence House is saying is the following. They're saying...
Whispers and urgent footsteps echoed through the corridors as aides scrambled to comprehend the situation. William's unexpected presence turned a routine night into a pivotal confrontation, leaving questions hanging in the air. Why was he there? How did it end up in Camilla's possession? And more importantly, what does this mean for the royal family's fragile balance? Secrets, trust, and loyalty all collided in those tense minutes, reshaping perceptions before anyone could even react. Stay with us, because tonight we reveal the truth behind this midnight discovery and what it could mean for the future of the monarchy. The unexpected discovery. When William approached the car that morning, everything seemed perfectly normal at first glance. The sun was just beginning to light the palace gardens, and there was a quiet stillness that usually marked the start of a regular day. Yet, as he reached for the handle and opened the car door, something caught his eye, a subtle glint coming from the glove box. What seemed like an ordinary compartment, the kind any driver might use to store documents or a few small personal items, now held an object that immediately drew his attention. There was an unusual weight to it, not physically, but in terms of importance, the kind of presence that made even a casual glance feel significant. To an outsider, it might have seemed insignificant, a piece of paper, a small envelope, or a trinket. But in royal circles, every object has meaning. Even the smallest item can carry implications that ripple across family dynamics, public image, or security concerns. William, trained from childhood to notice discrepancies, felt a flicker of unease. He had seen plenty of anomalies in the palace before: misplaced letters, forgotten invitations, but this was different. His instincts screamed that this was not something to overlook. Something about it didn't belong there, and he could not ignore it. Questions immediately began forming in his mind. Why was this object in Camilla's glove box? Who had put it there? Was it something she had forgotten in haste, or had it been placed deliberately? Could it be innocent, or did it hint at a deeper secret? In a household where appearances are meticulously maintained and privacy is sacred, even the smallest misstep can have wide-ranging consequences. William's mind raced with possibilities. The situation was delicate. The royal family follows strict protocols for security and privacy, and while the staff were trained for many emergencies, this was a scenario that tested both trust and procedure. Recognizing the potential gravity, William decided that this was beyond personal handling. It required intervention at the highest level. That meant calling Charles. By the time the king arrived, tension had quietly settled into the room like a heavy fog. Every glance, every movement carried weight. Every question demanded careful navigation. Charles' decision to summon security was not made lightly. He understood that this was more than a personal matter. It involved the integrity of the monarchy itself. One wrong step, one hasty reaction, and what began as a private discovery could explode into a public scandal overnight. Gloves, papers, or even a small keepsake, whatever the item was, now became the epicenter of curiosity, concern, and speculation. The palace staff, trained to maintain calm, sensed the unusual tension. Whispers began circulating, discreet yet persistent, as everyone wondered what could warrant such immediate attention.
The royal rumor mill is buzzing.
By the time security arrived, the atmosphere had shifted. What began as a simple glance into a car glove box had escalated into a moment of high stakes. Every decision from that point forward would carry consequences for family trust, royal protocol, and public perception. The object was no longer just an item, it was a catalyst, a spark igniting a chain of events that would echo far beyond that single discovery. The unexpected find had revealed something more profound. Even in a palace where everything is controlled, surprises wait in the most ordinary of places, capable of reshaping relationships and testing loyalties in ways no one could have predicted. William's protective instincts. For those who followed William's journey closely, one thing has always been clear: his strong sense of protection when it comes to his family. Growing up under the harsh glare of cameras, with every word analyzed and every gesture criticized, he learned early that silence and observation were his greatest shields. So, when his eyes fell on that strange object tucked away in Camilla's glove box, the calm surface of his composure cracked ever so slightly. His pulse quickened, but his expression remained steady, trained, measured, and quietly alert. It wasn't panic that drove him, it was instinct. Years of royal conditioning had taught him how to separate emotion from judgment. Yet, something was unsettling about the discovery, not just because of what it was, but what it could mean. In his world, small things often carried heavy consequences. A misplaced document, a photo in the wrong hands, or an innocent object misinterpreted could spiral into a headline before dawn. William understood that better than anyone. He stood there for a moment, looking at the glove box, his thoughts racing through possibilities. Could it belong to Camilla? Was it placed by someone else? Was this a misunderstanding waiting to explode? Whatever it was, it demanded discretion and swift, smart action. This was not the kind of situation where rashness helped. It was the kind where one wrong step could fracture trust that had taken years to build. To the public, William is often seen as composed, sometimes even distant. But behind palace doors, those who know him describe a man deeply committed to protecting his family, especially his father. Losing his mother at such a young age had taught him the painful price of media intrusion and broken trust.
It was Harry and William's special request to walk behind their mother's casket as it pushed on towards the Abbey.
That memory, buried deep, still guides his every reaction when something threatens the peace of those he loves. So, instead of confronting Camilla directly or letting emotions cloud his decision, William did what he knew was right. He informed his father. It wasn't an easy choice. Such matters, especially those involving family, require delicacy. But William wasn't acting out of suspicion or anger. He was acting out of responsibility. His loyalty to the monarchy and to the image his father had worked so hard to maintain demanded it. He didn't raise his voice, didn't accuse. His words were careful, his tone even. That's what makes his approach so striking, calm under pressure, protective but respectful. This wasn't just a son alerting his father. It was a future king safeguarding a legacy. Moments like this reveal the difference between being royal by title and royal by duty. In the face of uncertainty, William chose integrity over impulse. His reaction reminded everyone close to him why he is often described as his mother's son, compassionate, yet grounded in principle. The glove box incident might have been small in scale, but it was monumental in meaning. It showed that even in the most ordinary moments, William carries the weight of the crown quietly, firmly, and always with a protective heart.
They're pictures that shine a light on a future king, yet feel like a massive contrast to the image Prince William wants to show.
King Charles's dilemma. Being a king means carrying the kind of weight that most people can't even begin to understand. Every word, every gesture, every decision becomes a reflection of not just the man, but the crown he wears. And on that tense morning, Charles found himself facing one of those impossible choices. The phone call from William had been brief, but heavy with meaning. The tone in his son's voice told him this wasn't a trivial matter. Something had been found, something that shouldn't have been there. As Charles made his way to the scene, the air in Clarence House seemed to thicken. Every step echoed against the marble floors, and every passing staff member sensed that something wasn't right. Inside royal walls, silence often says more than words, and that day, silence ruled. Aides exchanged uncertain glances, unsure whether to ask questions or to quietly keep their distance. Rumors can spread faster than truth in the palace, and Charles knew that even the faintest sign of panic could set off a chain reaction. When he finally saw what William had found, the king's composure faltered for just a second. The object, small, discreet, and yet strangely out of place, was enough to make his heart sink. In that moment, he wasn't just the ruler of the United Kingdom. He was a husband, caught between love and suspicion, a father torn between trust and duty. It wasn't the first time Charles had faced conflict between the crown and his personal life, but this time it struck closer than ever. The question was no longer just about what the object was, it was about what it represented. Could it be a misunderstanding, or was it a warning sign of something more troubling? Charles knew that in royal life, perception is everything. The media didn't need proof. They only needed whispers. One misstep could explode into a scandal before anyone had time to explain. And so, he made the hardest decision a man in his position could make. He called for security. It wasn't out of anger or distrust, but out of necessity. His instincts told him that control had to be regained immediately before rumors spiraled beyond repair. Within minutes, the quiet halls filled with the faint hum of radios and the distant footsteps of guards. The sudden presence of security changed the atmosphere completely. Camilla, caught off guard, tried to maintain her usual composure, but the confusion in her eyes was unmistakable. For a woman accustomed to commanding confidence, this was a rare and vulnerable moment. She wanted answers, perhaps even an explanation. But Charles had no room for discussion yet. His expression remained calm but unreadable. Duty had overtaken emotion. The palace hierarchy is a complex web of titles, power, affection, and history, all tangled together. That morning, those lines blurred completely. Charles stood as both king and husband, forced to separate personal feeling from public responsibility. It was not about suspicion anymore. It was about protecting the crown from whispers that could undo years of stability. What happened in that quiet corner of the palace became more than a private misunderstanding. It was a test of loyalty, trust, and control. For Charles, the real dilemma wasn't what was found in the glove box, but what it threatened to uncover: the fragility of relationships built under the weight of a kingdom. Secrets and palace protocols. Every royal residence operates under a strict framework of rules, unwritten laws passed down through generations, meant to maintain order, secrecy, and above all, dignity. These protocols exist for moments exactly like the one that unfolded after the discovery in Camilla's glove box. To outsiders, it might appear like a small domestic curiosity, but inside the palace walls, it carried the weight of something far greater. Every royal aide, guard, and senior attendant understands that nothing is ever ordinary when it involves the royal family. As soon as the item was reported, the palace machinery quietly shifted into motion. Security teams were summoned through coded channels designed to avoid unnecessary alarm. Discretion was their highest priority. Guards moved through hallways that suddenly felt colder, each step echoing with unspoken questions. What could be so important or so dangerous that the king himself had called for immediate attention? Behind closed doors, the staff whispered. The atmosphere was tense, yet eerily calm, like the moment before a storm breaks. Protocol demanded silence, but curiosity has its own language. Some speculated it might be related to state matters. Others whispered it was personal. Whatever the truth, everyone knew that palace secrets never stayed buried for long. The challenge was containing them before they reached the public. For royal aides, moments like this are the ultimate test. They must walk a fine line between duty and self-preservation. Too much transparency can destroy trust. Too much secrecy can feed dangerous rumors. It's a balance that only a few truly master. Every report must be worded carefully.
Day after they published infamous photo of Duke and his accuser that he wants us to believe is fake, and long after he claims to have cut ties with a convicted paedophile,
Every observation documented without emotion. Because one misplaced sentence could become tomorrow's scandal. The glovebox incident quickly turned into a textbook example of how fragile the line between private and public life can be. What began as a personal discovery was now entangled in official protocols. Even a minor misstep could shake the royal image that took centuries to build. Camilla's unease, William's vigilance, and Charles's firm but conflicted leadership all became part of an unfolding narrative that only a handful of insiders fully understood. But beneath all the royal formalities lay a very human truth: secrecy comes with a cost. It isolates, breeds mistrust, and sometimes turns allies into silent observers. Inside those ancient walls, every person understood that the monarchy's greatest strength is its ability to control its image, and its greatest vulnerability is the loss of that control. What truly mattered was not the object itself, but the chain reaction it triggered. The palace had faced yet another test of its discipline, reminding everyone within those gates that nothing in royal life is ever just what it seems. Every detail, every decision, every hidden thing has the power to change everything. The aftermath and unfolding mystery. The royal palace has always prided itself on resilience, an institution that stands tall amid storms of scandal, loss, and scrutiny. Yet, in the quiet aftermath of the glovebox incident, an uneasy calm settled over Windsor. The matter might have seemed resolved on the surface after security's intervention, but those who lived behind those gilded gates knew better. This was far from over. The tension lingered like a shadow no one wanted to acknowledge, and whispers carried farther than anyone intended. William's discovery became more than a moment of vigilance. It became a symbol of silent watchfulness within the royal hierarchy. To some, it showed his devotion to protecting both his family and the crown. To others, it exposed the deep undercurrents of distrust that occasionally ripple beneath the surface of royal unity. He had acted out of instinct, but instinct often reveals truths that words cannot. The way Charles handled the situation, decisive yet visibly burdened, only deepened the intrigue. He was a king caught between duty and emotion, trying to hold together a family and a nation's image at the same time. Within days, the story evolved into something larger. Rumors began swirling through the palace halls, each version slightly different but equally compelling. Some claimed the object was connected to a sensitive correspondence. Others believed it had personal implications for someone close to the throne. The truth, however, remained tightly sealed within the king's inner circle. That silence, though intentional, did little to calm curiosity. Instead, it fueled speculation both inside and outside the palace walls. The media, ever watchful, sensed that something was amiss. Though no official statement was made, subtle changes in schedules, canceled appearances, and unusually tense body language during engagements hinted at underlying strain. Every photograph was analyzed, every word dissected. Even seasoned royal reporters admitted that something had shifted. An invisible crack had appeared in the palace's calm facade. Behind the scenes, relationships were being redefined. Trust, once taken for granted, now requires reassurance. Camilla's demeanor became a topic of fascination. Was she unsettled, defensive, or simply composed, as usual? The public could only guess. For those inside, however, it was clear that this incident had exposed vulnerabilities that were never meant to be seen. As days turned into weeks, the unanswered questions became almost haunting. What exactly had been in that glove box? Why did it carry such significance? And what conversations followed once the palace doors closed for the night? These mysteries lingered in the air like a secret too heavy to vanish. The event served as a quiet reminder that even the most structured, guarded worlds can be shaken by the unexpected. The monarchy, polished and powerful as it may appear, is still deeply human, bound by emotion, secrecy, and the fragile nature of trust. And within that truth lies the real story, not just the mystery of the object, but the unseen ripple it left across one of the most watched families in the world. The glove box incident offers a rare glimpse into the human side of royalty. Beneath the formal appearances, there are moments of tension, surprise, and difficult decisions. Charles, William, and Camilla found themselves navigating not just personal emotions, but the responsibilities of the crown. One object, small in size, created waves that went far beyond what anyone expected. While the public may never see every detail, the reactions of those involved speak volumes. William's vigilance, Charles' decisive action, and the delicate handling of secrecy reveal the complexities of life behind palace walls. The story reminds us that even royalty faces unexpected challenges, and sometimes the smallest discoveries can trigger the biggest reactions. We will continue to follow developments closely, uncovering insights that shed light on the balance of power, trust, and family within the royal household. If you want to stay updated and be among the first to know the full story, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think William found in the glove box? Stay with us, because the truth behind this royal mystery is far more fascinating than you can imagine.